Hey, Shalom, giving all praise unto Yahweh Shai Bashim Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone, and honors you brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. The brother I body are coming out here to give you this truth through the grace and mercy of Yahweh Shai. It's going to be a video going into some of the articles that we was posting back and forth within the group chat a couple of days ago regarding the road towards the MOTB. And we know that from the scriptures, Esau is setting up an enterprise to try and have their houses continue forever, which is going to be the first scripture that we're going to read within the book of Psalms, the 49th chapter and the 11th verse. And as we know from the scriptures, Jacob was the one blessed, going all the way from Abraham, Isaac unto Jacob. Jacob was the one that was blessed instead of Esau, not Esau. And the blessing was the rulership of the earth. You go to the book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse. It continues to speak about the same thing that's spoken about within the scriptures, that Esau's the end of the world and Jacob's going to be the beginning of it that followeth. Another scripture that comes to mind is the book of Daniel 2 and 44. In the days of these kings shall the Most High set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, shall not be left over for people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms. Excuse me. Shall stand forever. And that's our rulership. But Esau's got the world right now. Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. If not, where and who is he? And that's a nice question to pose to anybody that challenges the reality of the situation, in that there isn't the wicked. And the scripture tells you that there was going to be a wicked. In the last days there shall be a falling away, and then that man of sin was going to be revealed. And this man of sin has been revealed in the times that we're living in right now to fulfill the book of Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. But they're trying to continue beyond their short space, right? Go to a quick scripture here. I got to go to a precept first. Let me go into this scripture, bank that, but I got to go to a quick precept there, because sometimes when you be laying out these precepts in your mind, the spirit requires a little bit more greater detail. So we'll start with a little bit of the greater detail here within the book of Revelations, the 20th chapter. And we go straight to the point. The second verse on down, it says, "And laid hold on that dragon, which represents the Greco-Roman Empire, following Alexander the so-called Great, his generals, the setting up of the Roman Empire." That whole dragon was pushed off into relative obscurity, what's known as the Dark Ages. There was a non-factor. Contrary to common belief, you didn't have white people ruling in large swaths as they do right now, all the way throughout the history. You go back 500 years, 600 years, it was a very different world we was living in. And the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, predominantly the Negroes was ruling Europe. But through iniquity, the Most High took away the hedge that he had put around us, and invariably was put into captivity, slavery, the transatlantic slave trade. And when you go into the history, I believe the first ships came from Europe. Okay, I believe the first ships came from Europe with Africanoid, quote unquote, right? Israelites that look like Africans. I only use the word African because they're dark skinned people. If my history doesn't serve me incorrectly, but the only point I'm trying to make is, prior to this time that we're living in right now, you know, is the so-called new era, the first and second industrial revolution, and modern day times, the modern day era, what was known as the Dark Ages, was Jake ruling. So the scripture says the angel took hold of that dragon, which is called a devil meaning he is a deceiver, and he is indeed a deceiver. Deception is the central motto of their philosophy. Okay, great deal of what Esau does within the earth is just lies and treachery, and through that they've been able to get money, been able to acquire resources, they've been able to amount wealth through deception. Okay, and the scripture says, and called him the devil and Satan, meaning the adversary, and he is indeed the adversary to the end, to the extent that the scripture says if this man wasn't taken out of power, there wasn't going to be any flesh left to save, and bound him 1,000 years. So the period of the Dark Ages was known as the Byzantine Empire, the transition from the Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire. This is what we're dealing with here, right? So they was going to come back into power, and the scripture says, because this goes back and forth within time, right? Does it go back and forth? No, not this one. And cast him into the bottomless pit, which just means a fruitless land, a land devoid of natural resources, and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. You see that? He must be loosed a little season. So this is what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to extend the little season into an eternal rulership. And they're trying to use their birthright, which is the sword, in order to rule beyond what the Most High has given unto them. The scripture says the Most High set his bounds that he cannot pass, but he's trying to rule beyond his allotted time. Psalms, the 89th chapter and the 11th verse. Their inward force is that their houses shall continue forever, and that their dwelling places from generation to generation. And they call their land after their names. When you look at all of these countries, for the most part, they're Edomite names, right? Africa, Leo, Scipio, Africanus. What else comes to mind? Amerigo Vespucci, right? They call the land after their names, but these lands had ancient names. Like America was Ophir, if I'm not mistaken. Asareth, which just meant another land. That's within the book of 2 Ezra, the 13th chapter. What other names come to mind? Obviously, the lands was called by the inhabitants of it. So you had the land of Israel, which was inhabited by the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans in antiquity, which are the real Israelites. And it was named after our nationality. The same thing with, with other nations, with other lands. But Esau's gone up into there and he's stolen the land with some exceptions, retaining their ancient names. Very few exceptions, but some exceptions retaining their ancient names. And he's gone off and put his name on top of them. Okay? So they really think that they're going to be able to continue forever. And what we see with these articles is that they got a plan in place. Got to get one more scripture. They got a plan in place, which is the Revelations, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse. And they're really kind of furthering their plan right now. But what do we know from the book of Job, the 20th chapter? The book of Job, the 20th chapter, tells us that when he's about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast his wrath upon him. Okay? So Revelations 13 and 16, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand, that no man might buy or sell save he has the mark, or the name with a number, or the name of the beast or his number. So there's coming a time when you're going to have that charagma, and you ain't going to be able to interact with the world around you unless you have that charagma. So we see the infrastructure being set up to where without the charagma, you're going to have these restrictions. And this comes off of the back of a video that the elder here had posted within the group chat, going into the technologies, because the individual who was being interviewed in the video was a software engineer of some respects, and had gone through all the learning and producing of particular softwares. And the game, when you go into Esau, is to be like the Most High. Let's get that within the book of Obadiah. And the MLTB system and all these systems that go with the MLTB, they're nothing but Esau trying to be the Most High. right? Esau wants to be the Most High. He's got a real God complex, and in him trying to be like the Most High, he's gonna set up. He's gonna use the blessing that he's got. The scripture says he's wiser than Daniel, to try be like the Most High, and that's what we're gonna see. That's gonna be one of the themes that we see with these 3 articles that I have prepared. Is control. He wants to have control. He wants to monitor. He wants to watch. He wants to see everything that you're doing, because that's what the Most High has. The Most High, the scripture talks about how the eyes of the Most High are 10 times brighter than the sun. So Esau wants the same thing. Thus saith the Lord concerning Edom. Let's go straight to the point. Obadiah 1 and 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, though thou nest thyself amongst the stars, thence will I bring thee down. He's got a real thing for pride. The scripture says pride goeth before destruction. He's got a real God complex. Is there another one that's a bit more on point? To the point I'm trying to make. Yes, Job the 28th chapter. Now, I always remember Obadiah first, but it's really Job the 20th chapter. And you can really clearly see that they were seeing similar sort of things, because it's written in a similar type of a style. So let's go. Let's go to is it Job the 20th chapter? I can't remember now. That's so good. If it'll come back to me, because I had the wording. I was going to search out the wording out in a sec before. I think I got the wording back. I'll be. Now that's going to take forever. See if I can find it real quick. Any precepts jump out at me. I can't remember the wording of it off the top of my head, but it happens sometimes. Okay, so it's not Job, but is it? No, but it'll come back to me. Anyways, we know Esau's got the God complex, right? So a lot of these things that we're going to be reading are dealing with Esau establishing his God complex within the earth via technology. Kill switch law. And you gotta forgive me. I'm just reading these things verbatim. These are articles I prepared earlier, right? So, with these EV business that they're bringing about, some of the technologies that they have within these EVs is about tracking, tracing, controlling, watching, observing, and ultimately limiting your access to particular things, right? I'm going to come back to this paragraph here, but check this out. The kill switch, right? So let's say you're driving and you've entered your CBDC code via your RFID chip into a particular car, and you have exceeded your usage that you're supposed to have with that particular car. This is where the kill switch is going to come in, and this stuff gets planned out years in advance, right? Because you can't just walk up to a dealership and the feature's already there. It's going to be integrated into all the systems. It's going to be integrated into the infotainment system. You're going to be able to access it via the buttons that you have within the user interface. So it's one thing to just put a camera watching you within the car. It's a whole another thing to program the software and how it interacts with the rest of the car. So a lot of these programs, a lot of these agendas that they had to have put them into the works ages ago in order for them to reach their agenda, the time date for their agenda, which the 2030 is their agenda. Now, we don't know if they're going to speed it up because the prophecy's coming out there. We've just seen this guy. We've just seen Rick Ross being linked with the IUIC. Kanye West is now linked with the ISUPK. Kyrie Irving is linked to the IUIC, and many other entertainers are linked to the IUIC. So it's a real great and heavy push for the Hebrew Israelites. And that goes with a prophecy within the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, on the 14th verse. The end wasn't going to come until the word reaches unto the four corners of the earth. Okay? So Esau might speed this thing up. And that makes sense. Makes sense he was going to come down having great wrath, because he's prophesied to come down with having great wrath. But the point I was making is, a lot of these agendas that they have, it takes time to integrate them. So a lot of these things have been in the play and in the works for a very long time. So the kill switch, this is for your car. They're going to have a kill switch within your car. Let's go to this paragraph I was interested in. I want to go back. Go to the paragraph I was interested in. We know the government wants to cut down on drunk, impaired driving, and will require detection technology within the car. And how many people really be drink driving? And how many times you hear somebody have crashed their car because they're drink driving? Right? I don't think I've ever been, and Lord's will, I'm not. Because, hey, you could have mouthwash and you could trigger it. And then now you got a whole other situation. But here within the UK, I've never really heard of anybody that's been breathalyzed. Unless, the cops was there and they stop you. I've heard of one person in about 20 years. It's not a thing that happens all the time. Let alone a thing where people are just crashing their cars like that. So these systems are sold as beneficial to you, but ultimately it's a means, another level of control. And going and referring back to the video that we watched on BitChute, the guy was saying, look, everything in your house has got a camera. You got an Xbox with the X1 Connect. I don't know if they still sell that. It's got a camera. So your TV has a camera. Your phone has a camera. Your tablet has a camera. I think in this room I'm in right now, which is my study, I've got 2 cameras with 3 cameras on the phone. I've got the computers they all got, they all got cameras. The tablets got cameras. It's like, damn, bro. It's about 7, 8, 9, 10. It's easily 10 cameras in this room. In one room, there's like 10 cameras. You know what I'm saying? Right? And then there's the passive listening devices with the OK Googles and all of that. These are all devices that are designed to trace, monitor, and record. And you can see they're clamping down and clamping down. What do you think all of these systems look like in a social credit system society? What do you think all of these systems look like within a social credit system society? You ain't gonna be liberation. They ain't watching your drink driving, man. They're watching you. Okay, they're watching you. You don't stand up the way they think you should stand up. They gonna send the RoboCop. Right? If you don't walk the way they want you to walk, they gonna send the RoboCop. Okay. Let's go to that paragraph I wanted to read. Another thing we can expect, depending on the implementation of the technology, is errors and expectations. For example, how will the algorithm handle people with a lazy eye? And if someone has a severely depressed drives in a way that mimics someone sleepy, and that's not really a point or anything like that. And this is how these articles are presented. Right, the AI is pretty decent. The thing about machine learning is it improves over time, so they're not concerned about that. The agenda is already on the table. They're gonna give you this little false hope, but it's coming, man. Right, so all of these means of monitoring and controlling, they're coming. So what do I have here? Right, that's that article. Right, so I gotta get into this in a second. That's dealing with the UK, and these are laws that have been discussed and being passed. We can get the book of Micah, I believe it is, on righteous decrees. Okay. Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. And this is what we're going to be reading about in a second. Just before that, I'm going to go into another thing. They want to set up microphone stations as well. I'll show you the microphone stations that they're going to be setting up. Microphone lampposts. Okay, microphone lampposts. So you know the combination between the ring Ring doorbell that you have on pretty much every house. I mean, people, if anybody got a decent house out here where I'm, where I walk around, they got a Ring doorbell. And that Ring doorbell has got like a 160, 180 degree span. You can't really walk anywhere without being monitored. Right? Add the AI in there, and it's a whole different thing with the one app, just like WeChat, right? With the social credit system society. It's gonna be pure oppression. It's gonna be pure oppression. This is from the House of Lords, UK Parliament. These are laws that they're gonna be passing through. It ain't a conspiracy anymore, man. I mean, what conspiracy, although the inspiration might have been from a quote unquote conspiracy website, which is BitChute, these articles are mainstream articles, right? The Guardian, that's mainstream. Okay. What else did I go through? Now, I haven't personally seen this website before. Yeah, I haven't seen that before, but I mean, these cars that exist, they already exist with the kill switch. They're showing you the car with a kill switch already there. So that's mainstream. The source might be not so mainstream, but the car is out there. The technologies that they're telling you about is already out there. Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievousness which they have prescribed. They turn aside the needy from judgment to take away the right from the poor, and from of my people, that widows may be their prey, and they may rob the fatherless. So when it gets down to the nitty gritties, all of this is in a ploy to take away the birthright, right, from the poor or the most people, which is the children of Israel. He's trying to steal our birthright. And this is the control and the power that we're going to have. We're going to have power to see what a person's done. That's what Yahushua did when he was dishing out judgments. Yahushua did that when he was dishing out judgments. How do you think he was able to see these people and ask them that question? That's kind of like a crazy question if you don't know someone's past. When you go say, look, whoever hasn't sinned, cast the first stone. Anybody could have lied and cast the first stone, but obviously he moved with such authority because he knew. He knew. Why do you think they asked him, Master, who did the sin, him or his father? Because yet they understood he had the spiritual Google, like the elder says here, the spiritual insight to see what Esau wants to see. Esau wants to have the algorithms and the approximations. The Most High had it perfect, man. And that's what Esau's trying to take away from us, man. Us, the fatherless, which is part of our curse. And what will I do? And what will you do in the day of the visitation, in the desolation which shall come from afar? Which all of these cameras, all of these technology, all of these algorithms, they ain't gonna be like when Ultron was destroyed. There ain't gonna be no piece of algorithm that's left when Yahushua returns, man. That's all gonna be destroyed. To whom will ye flee? Right, and where will you leave your glory? Okay, so the point that we wanted there is one to them that decree unrighteousness, unrighteous decrees, grievousness, which they have prescribed, which this is all grievousness. So noise cameras to reach out in England, and again they'll say boy racist. Now I actually do live in an area that's kind of affected by boy racist because it's like a hip type community. It's like a young line. When I say hip, it's either people are really old or they're like young families. So it's an area that was kind of built up a long time ago, and the older people were there dying off, and the younger people are coming in. So you got a lot of boy racists here. What I'm trying to say is I've got the experience of these type of people, and yeah, you don't need noise cameras for that, right? The worst thing about this, I'm gonna give you another clue. Something that just come to mind. Now check this out, right? Let me show you the hypocrisy. Now I know, because I'm a bit of a boy racer myself. now I know from being a bit of a car obsessant, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? A gearhead, right? I know from being a gearhead that as of last 10 to 15 years, and I know also they've got a legislation out there to I think the decibels that they want a car to be at is about 65 within about 2 to 3 years, right? Now I know from the past, you've got what's known as a soft limiter that they put within the cars so that the car doesn't rev too high. They got restrictions on what exhaust pipe that you can put on the back of your car. So Why do they need noise cameras when you've already got legislation put in place to the manufacturer to not have noisy cars? Within about, I think, let's just call it 2030 because everything is 2030, right? Within 2030, they ain't trying to have a car out there with like 67 decibels. Engine, tires, everything is going to be less than 70 decibels. That's to the manufacturer. So what's the noise camera there going to be there for? You're buying a Volkswagen and it's already set 67 decibels. Every material that they've chosen, right? Every component that they've chosen in the assembly, it's all going to come down to 67 decibels, which is about nothing. It's about tires rolling around on the road. You don't hear nothing. If they already set that up, where are you going to have all of this extra noise that they need to tackle the boy races? And why is this such a big problem? Like there's just a horde of boy races that got to be stopped. No. This is about listening to you, okay? And a lot of these technologies could be reversed and used as weapons, right? What's a noise camera to you is a sound weapon to them, okay? Because Esau studies these particular things, and the scripture says he's blessed by the sword. He's blessed with the sword, Salakia. He knows how to create a weapon from anything, man. They can emit particular frequencies that could bring you to your knees. There's actual frequencies out there like that. Okay, there's actual frequencies out there. So talking about a noise camera, no. That ain't gonna be for deterring and detecting boy racers. Okay, they said here who rev engines. Okay, so they did pick up on the illegal exhausting. So isn't it cheaper just to tackle the illegal exhaust vendors? I mean, you can't buy it. And if they are illegal, how much of a problem is it? In other words, they're gonna use that problem to fulfill their goals. Okay. So what did I want? I wanted to go to the next article. So the next article is a bit more useful to us. We can go into other things that's related to the agenda, the wider agenda at large, right? And this is dealing with AI within the justice system. And this is quite a recent article. This was released in November. Okay. And they're dealing here with quite a lot, man, with this AI. But this ultimately goes into pre-crime technology. Okay. This goes into pre-crime technology. So here it is. Yahushua will judge you and tell you about what you've done. But Esau wants to judge you before you've done it. Damn devil. And they could do a lot off of the back of that. They could say, because you like 6 Great Millstone videos, you're predisposed to this particular type of behavior. So we're going to do X, Y, and Z. You better believe they got the list. What are the committee findings? Overall, the committee recognized that the positive impact that AI could have on efficiency, productivity, and problem solving in the justice system. Now, this is this is what they do all the time. I showed it to you on the other article, the Hegelian dialectics. However, it is said as a lack of minimum standards, transparency, elevation, and training in AI technology that meant that the public's human rights and civil liberties are compromised. And what they've showed you over the last few years is when they create crises, people tend to what? They use the Hegelian dialectics to create the polythesis, which is what they want, which is to implement the AI. So when you have a crisis, they're going to say, no, to hell with the human rights, right? The people themselves are going to happily give over their so-called civil liberties for the government to govern them. And the governing is going to be that they're going to give you is this AI, right? The committee said addressing this issue could consolidate the UK's position as a front runner in the global race to AI while respecting human rights law. So it's coming. Let's see if we can get some juicy bits. Okay. Because they do mention part of the AI is to is pre-crime. I gotta remember it now where it was. I don't think I went down this far. Okay, but we can read it from here. It says, House of Lords Justice House Affair Committee has considered the use of AI technologies in the criminal justice system, which is pre-crime, and algorithmic findings and all kind of stuff like that. You know, the Robocop, all of that. Found benefits of such technologies to help apply the law, right? Hegelian dialectics, but also raised concerns about the potential risks and fundamental risks to human rights and civil liberties. You don't care about your civil liberties in the C19 thing. Let me see if I can find that little juicy bit. Oh, here we go. So the report sets out the committee's finding from its new technologies application of law inquiry launched in May 2021. This examined the use of AI technologies in the criminal justice system. Specifically, the report looked at tools that use algorithms or machine learning technologies to help apply the law in England and Wales. This includes algorithmically manipulated technologies used to discover crimes, deter criminal behavior. And one of the things that they're saying at the minute right now, and this is being pushed heavy within the UK, the so-called harassing of the woman. And they got billboards out here within the UK, within London, damn near on every train saying, if you see something, report it. All right. So you say hello to a woman these days now, and you brothers got to be careful. You say hello to a woman these days, and people deem it as forceful behavior. And which Jake, we got soul, right? You know, sometimes you got to use the subtlety. I mean, we're the prize anyway, so that's how you got to look at it. You know, I've been there. You know, I did it, right? I've been in situations where people raise the eyebrow. So now I just use the subtlety. Just use the subtlety. I mean, we're the prize at the end of the day. So how much subtlety do you need? You know what I'm saying? If you're the prize, you don't really have to be all, you don't really have to be all that abrasive. You just, you don't dangle the carrot. You just, you already got the carrots. Everybody knows you got the carrots, man. Sometimes you have to let the Most High deal with particular situations. And, you're not being forceful in pushing the Lord's hand. Sometimes things work out better. Most of the time things work out better. All the time things work out better when you let the Lord deal with it. And the scripture says that 7 women shall take hold of one man. Not one man shall take hold of 7 women. Gonna go out there all thirsty and that, man. I mean, we're the prize. I mean, it's not always easy to apply that within our own personal lives, but it's something that I had to learn the hard way, innit? But this is what they want out here. So to deter criminal behavior, who deems what as criminal behavior? They're gonna deem it criminal behavior, and they can create laws that target particular things that they don't want within their new world. Predictive policing that uses historic data to predict where and when certain crimes occur. And that's the main one. In addition to that, facial recognition tools that assess whether separate images depict the same person. So the facial recognition, the predictive policing. Versions of this are already out there. You already got the facial recognition on the phone. Every time you use it, the machine learning gets better and better and better. And they got such a large data pool right now. I mean, you're talking about beta testing. Then you have to beta test this stuff, man. You already tested it. When you was conveniently opening your phone, and I never really liked the idea of opening my phone with my face. I'd rather put a pin in. At the very least, I'll use the fingerprint scanner. But they got, and even that, they could create a whole bank of data off of the back of that. But the facial unlock with the Apple, the facial unlock, Face ID, they got a what's known as a data bank, using that. So they're going to use these tools for what? For policing. And this is what these articles have been looking at. This is from the House of Lords. It's going to be laws being passed 23rd November 2022. So yeah, man, we're moving over towards the last days we're moving over to no. We're in the last days of the last days, and Esau's going to come down invariably with great wrath. especially when we're pushing out so much content and so much videos and so much edification through the spirit and power. Yahweh Shema Shai. Obviously, Esau was going to come down, having great wrath because he knows he has a short time, and that, I mean that's the nature of Esau. That's it. That's what he was designed to do. But we just gotta keep on pushing on, and when it's time for us to break away from this society, we're gonna break away, man. We're gonna break away and lean upon faith, and faith is gonna deliver us. So, Lord's will, Yahweh Shema Shai, that was a edification. But I'm gonna say, oh, praise unto Yahweh Shema Shai, Bashim Gov't, double honors unto the apostles of great millstone. All she brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.